January 2026. Overnight, entire neighborhoods in Albay awaken to urgent evacuation orders as Mayon's ongoing eruption buries fields in ash and strains emergency shelters. At the same time, sulfur dioxide surges to levels not recorded in 15 years, forcing thousands to flee and threatening air, water, and food supplies. How did a familiar mountain become the source of the Philippines' largest volcanic crisis in years? And what does life look like for those uprooted by its relentless fury? Convoys of trucks, buses, and even tricycles line the narrow roads of Albay as families gather what they can carry and leave their homes behind. In the early hours after evacuation orders, municipal officials coordinate with barangay leaders to organize departures from 18 at-risk communities. Each barangay receives instructions on where to assemble, which routes to use, and how to reach designated shelters outside the danger zone. Schoolyards and covered courts fill with people waiting for transport, clutching bags of clothes, sacks of rice, and the occasional family pet. Some families travel together in packed vehicles, while others walk under the weight of their belongings, guided by police and volunteers. The evacuation covers a wide swath of Albay's southern and southeastern flanks, including parts of Guinobatan, Kamalig, and Malilipat. Relocation orders prioritize those living within the 6-kilometer permanent danger zone, but extended warnings reach neighboring areas as ashfall and gas spread unpredictably. Nighttime departures become common as authorities aim to move residents before new flows or ash plumes threaten their routes. Each convoy is tracked by local disaster response teams, who maintain headcounts and relay updates to the provincial command center. By the end of the first week, streams of families have left at least 18 barangays, filling temporary shelters and stretching local resources. The scale of movement is visible at every turn. School gates crowded with children, elderly residents helped onto waiting buses, and community leaders checking lists late into the night. For many, the journey is uncertain, but the need to escape the shadow of Mayon leaves little choice. Inside the crowded shelters of Albay, daily life has become a test of endurance. Families sleep side by side on classroom floors, their belongings stacked in plastic bags along the walls. Each morning begins with the sound of children coughing, a constant reminder of the ash and sulfur that still hang in the air. Water drums stand in the corners, but supplies run low by midday, forcing long lines and careful rationing. For many, the loss goes beyond comfort. Farmers from Kamalig and Guinobatan describe fields buried under gray ash, abaca, and rice plants flattened, vegetables lost for the season. Months of work have vanished overnight, and with them, the main source of income for entire households. A smallholder farmer, his hands stained by volcanic dust, explains that even after the eruption ends, the soil will need time to recover. He worries about debts and how to feed his family if the next harvest fails. Health workers in the shelters face their own challenges. A nurse at a Legazpi evacuation center treats dozens of respiratory complaints each day, from persistent coughs to asthma attacks triggered by fine ash and high sulfur dioxide in the air. The supply of N95 masks is limited. So many rely on cloth or surgical masks that offer little protection. Overcrowding increases the risk of other illnesses, and sanitation is a daily struggle with so many people sharing toilets and hand-washing stations. Despite these hardships, residents try to maintain routines, sharing food, helping neighbors, and keeping watch over the elderly and children. Yet beneath the surface, anxiety grows. With crops ruined and homes standing empty in the shadow of Mayon, questions remain about how long the crisis will last and what comes next for those forced to start over. Molten rock streams from Mayon's summit, tracing a fiery path down the Basud Gully. By mid-February, the main lava flow has reached 3.8 kilometers from the crater, its advance carving a glowing channel into the volcano's southeastern slope. At night, the crater glows with a steady red light, a sign of magma pushing upward and spilling over the rim. Scientists from the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology monitor these flows closely, measuring both their length and the speed of their advance. Each day, they record new rockfalls and shifting tongues of lava, using drones and thermal cameras to track changes in real time. But lava is only part of the danger. On February 9th, a surge of pyroclastic density currents, fast-moving clouds of hot gas, ash, and volcanic debris raced 4 kilometers down the Mayon Gully. These currents, known locally as Yusan, move with little warning and can destroy nearly everything in their path. That morning, a thick gray plume billowed 1,000 meters into the sky, drifting southwest and blanketing nearby barangays with ash. The event left fields coated in fine dust and forced even more families to seek shelter farther from the mountain. Earlier in the eruption, on January 13th, a sudden explosion sent lava and molten rocks shooting 100 meters into the air. The force of the blast scattered debris around the summit and set off a string of new rockfalls. Scientists describe these bursts as signs of pressure building and releasing inside the volcano, evidence that Mayon remains restless and unpredictable. Each new measurement, each observation from the field, feeds into a growing picture of a volcano in constant motion, its energy shaping both landscape and lives below. Rising above the plains, Mayon's steep, symmetrical slopes create both a breathtaking landmark and a natural funnel for danger. From the summit, deep gullies like Basud, Miizi, and Banga cut through the volcanic cone, channeling lava, ash, and water directly toward the communities below. These drainage systems act as highways for pyroclastic density currents and lahars, concentrating the impact on certain barangays during eruptions and heavy rains. The landscape itself shapes the hazard, making some villages especially vulnerable even at a distance from the crater. To manage this risk, authorities enforce a strict 6-kilometer permanent danger zone, marked on every FIVOLCS hazard map. Entry is forbidden, not only because of lava and falling rocks, but also because of the threat of sudden mud flows and gas surges. The buffer extends beyond the PDZ in some sectors, reflecting the unpredictable reach of lahars and pyroclastic flows that can sweep down the slopes in minutes. Each evacuation order, each warning, is built on decades of observation, where past flows have traveled, where the land offers no protection. Modern monitoring combines these lessons with real-time data. Scientists track ground swelling, seismic tremors, and gas emissions, using sensors and satellite feeds to update the alert level. The current alert level 3 signals high unrest. Magmatic activity is ongoing, and hazardous eruptions remain likely. This status is not just a number. It triggers protocols for evacuation, airspace restrictions, and constant communication with local officials. History weighs heavily on every decision. In 1814, Mayon's most destructive eruption buried the town of Kagsawa in ash and mud, leaving only the church belfry standing. More than 1,000 lives were lost, and the ruins still serve as a warning etched into the province's memory. Today, the combination of detailed hazard maps, scientific monitoring, and hard-learned policy aims to prevent another tragedy of that scale. The story of Mayon is written not just in its eruptions, but in the ways people adapt to its restless presence. Sulfur dioxide is invisible, but its effects are felt across Albay. On February 4th, Mayon's sulfur dioxide emissions peaked at 6,569 tons in a single day. That was the highest measured here in 15 years. An atmospheric scientist from Pagasa says that at these levels, the gas forms a plume stretching west and northwest, confirmed by satellite instruments such as Tropomi. Downwind communities may be exposed to concentrations between 50 and 200 micrograms per cubic meter, enough to irritate eyes, throat, and lungs. Children, the elderly, and people with asthma are especially at risk. Health officials advise staying indoors when possible, sealing windows and using N95 masks if venturing outside. Cloth or surgical masks offer little protection against gases. Even brief exposure can trigger coughing or worsen asthma, so local clinics track respiratory complaints closely. The advice is clear. Limit time outdoors, hydrate often, and seek medical help for any trouble breathing. Inside the Provincial Disaster Operations Center, a wall of monitors displays live feeds from Mayon slopes, seismic graphs, and weather updates. The All-Bay Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Office, known as DRRMO, coordinates every alert, working around the clock to track volcanic signals and relay instructions to local officials. Their toolkit includes ground-based gas sensors, tilt meters for detecting ground movement, and satellite data for plume tracking. Each evacuation report is cross-checked against shelter headcounts to avoid missing anyone, with daily reconciliations sent to national authorities. On the humanitarian front, the Philippine Red Cross maintains a direct channel for aid, supporting shelters with food, water, and medical supplies. A Red Cross representative stresses that verified donation links are essential to prevent fraud and ensure help reaches displaced families. Public vigilance also matters, and authorities urge residents to follow official updates, avoid restricted zones, and report any gaps in relief. The organized response depends on both technology and community action, making every contribution count as the crisis continues. Tonight, thousands remain displaced as Mayon's eruption continues, and sulfur dioxide lingers at hazardous levels. In a world where volcanic risk is rising, vigilance and science are critical for survival. Nature's warning isn't over. Its consequences still unfold. Stay informed and let us know your thoughts below.